Hey everybody, it's Caitlin. Today is Friday, April 3rd, and I wanted to talk a little bit about homemade masks. So we've all been seeing in the news that there are these big shortages of surgical masks and N95 respirators in hospitals. Doctors and nurses and cleaning staff and everybody who works in hospitals have really been putting out calls on social media, asking for masks to be donated, and really kind of talking about the need for these masks. And in response to that, I think a lot of people have decided, can we create homemade masks or so there's a backup for these hospitals and so we can have something to protect ourselves? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about these masks and what we do and don't know about them. So I've been working with some colleagues who are reviewing the scientific peer-reviewed literature about homemade masks. Believe it or not, that does exist. And we found a couple of comparisons that look at different kinds of fabric and what kind works best against protecting from droplets and things like that. What we found is that these masks obviously aren't as effective as a surgical mask, as an N95 respirator, but that some of these fabric masks may be helpful in screening out some of the droplets that these very small virus particles travel in. How effective those masks are depends a little bit on the type of fabric used in the masks and probably on the exact design of the mask. So things with a much tighter weave are going to work much better than things with a bigger weave, right? You can think about fabric as kind of like a mesh, right? Particularly woven fabric. It's got all these little holes in it. And so, the smaller these holes can be, the tighter you can get the weave to be, the better they're going to be at stopping things. Most of the fabrics we have in our everyday lives, right? Like cotton t-shirts, linen pants, bed sheets, towels, that kind of thing. The holes in that weave are too big to stop very, very small particles. But what they can do at least is, if somebody sneezes in your direction, they can catch some of those bigger spit droplets, things like that, and prevent those from getting in your face. So, having a cloth mask is better than nothing, not as good as a surgical mask, but you probably knew that already. The most important thing is that if you decide to create a mask for your own use, there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. One is that we're really looking to cover up that space around your nose and mouth. So you probably don't want to put too many seams down the middle, because you're taking that mesh and you're making some of those holes bigger, right? So that you can get a thread through, right? Anywhere that you're putting a needle, you're kind of opening up that hole. So if you can find versions of the mask that are, kind of a closed front, don't have a lot of seams down the middle, more like a pleated surgical style mask, we can't find any head-to-head tests for those, but common sense would seem to think that those might work better than those things that have a lot of holes right where you're breathing. The second most important thing is that if you're using a mask, whether it's a cloth mask that you're making at home or another kind of mask, once you put it on, you got to leave it in place. Don't fuss with it. Don't move it up and down. You don't want to touch it and then touch your face. You really got to set it and forget it. Because the last thing you want to do is have that mask, somebody sneeze, get droplets onto your face from somebody who's sick or coughing or sneezing, and then you touch that and wipe it into your face, right? Because that will definitely get you sick. So hope this has been helpful for thinking a little bit about these masks. I'm going to drop some links for the style of masks that I was talking about, this broader pleated type. So if you decide that that's something you want to make, you can go ahead and do that. But as always, just make sure that you're using a fabric that's clean, that you're laundering everything after using it before giving it to somebody else, because you may come into contact with somebody, and even if you don't feel sick, you can still spread the virus if you already have it. So just a reminder to practice safe social distancing. Don't go out. Don't hang out with folks other than the people you live with. Love y'all. Send questions. Talk to you tomorrow.